interest rate is at a 2-year high. We went into the long 3-day weekend at 1.75 on the 10-year. Then it went up to 1.79, as high overnight from Monday to Tuesday as 1.85, which is a serious move. Now, I've always talked about how expensive the market will be if the interest rate of the 10-year goes over 1.80. So it was 1.85, it's come back down to about 1.81, 1.82. That's still pretty high. Now, what else do I look at? The US dollar, which also spiked on Friday and is also higher this morning. Now, these two instruments make it more expensive to invest in our US market. Now, what else is happening? Oil, which Kathy Wood, when oil was $72 per barrel, said she could see oil within a year or two at $17 a barrel, and that's when EVs took off, electric vehicle stocks. Now oil is at a 7-year high at $113 a barrel. Now the good news is OPEC has a little more control over the oil prices because companies that produce oil have been decreasing their production, which has been increasing the price. Remember, supply and demand? Less supply, more demand, price goes up. So OPEC countries can increase their oil production. I'm sure there's an agreement, but that would make sense to me. So that's what I'm going to look to happen. Now, what else do we want to talk about? China came out with their retail numbers. The same way we had our retail numbers last week or 2 weeks ago, China came out with their retail numbers for December. Now, their retail numbers were supposed to come in at 3.1%. They came in at 1.7%, which tells you the Chinese economy is still struggling. Now, what else do we want to talk about? Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin, because if everybody doesn't remember my prediction on Bitcoin, I do think it's going to have a fabulous 2022, but I don't think it's going to move until the Chinese New Year is over. Now, let's remember, the Chinese New Year starts at the end of January and lasts about 3 weeks. Now, what do? It's not like the US New Year. For everybody who doesn't know that, they close factories for 3 to 4 weeks. Zero production. They're celebrating the New Year. Okay, so let me tell you my theory about Bitcoin. I do not think Bitcoin or cryptos are going to move higher until the second week in February. So the Chinese New Year is coming to an end, and that is when I believe Bitcoin will start to move higher. Now, what else is China bringing to the world economy? Well, they're going to default again. They have so many construction and development companies, and they put up these massive sized buildings that nobody lives in. Sorry. No one lives in, not loves in. They might love in it, but they don't live in it. That's the point. There are cities in China that are built up, massive high-rise. Nobody lives there. And these companies are defaulting on their payment and owe a lot of money. Okay, so one other thing that I started doing for myself early in the morning is I made up a quadrant board. A quadrant board saying, if tech is strong, I like these stocks. If tech is weak, I don't like these stocks. I'll be buying puts on these stocks. Same thing, Dow strong, I've got 4 stocks. And if the Dow is weak, I've got 4 stocks that can head down. Now, one interesting bit of news, Moderna is supposedly working on a vaccine that will cover the flu and the COVID variant. So that's interesting, but they're just working on it. Who knows how far? So thank you for joining me today. I've got the SPY chart up here. Let's just look at the SPY chart. We visited 454 within a month ago, and there was some buying, but there was huge selling into the 454. Then you see volumes extremely light, huge selling again in here, taking us to 468, which is far away from 464, understand. We went back up here above 471. That was the day I thought the market was going down, and we hit 473. But I'm right, because the market is going down. There was some buying over here at 464, and a lot of people call the base at 464. Oh, we're not going under there. 460, we're not going under there. But let me tell you, I'm not going to be surprised when we go back down to 454. In fact, from that selling, and because interest rates are up, oil's up, numbers are down, I actually think we're probably going to go and break this line over here sometime this week. So I actually see a tough week in the market, and I believe the SPY will likely come down and visit 454 again. Not necessarily today, but market sentiment. Understand, if the market and the futures are beat up today, who's going to be buying when the SPY is down 1%? You say to yourself, yes, there'll be some fluctuations in the market, up, down, people are taking advantage of some stocks, but generally, market sentiment is negative, and until something comes out to change market sentiment, you have to assume that history will repeat itself. Now, speaking of history repeat itself, guess who's going to be back tomorrow morning? Me. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for another market update. Have a great day of trading.